Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kumtasan. So today we'll be looking at input and output devices. This is chapter 2, the theory in the theory aspect of the Cambridge IGCSE ICT. So in this chapter, we'll look at input devices and output devices. So the main objectives we want to focus on here is to understand the character of input devices, their uses, advantages and disadvantages. Secondly, we also look at a certain category of input devices, which are direct data entry devices, such as card readers, OCRs, and the rest. We look at their uses, advantages, and disadvantages. And likewise, we do the same for the output devices. So let's get straight into it. Now, the first thing that we here is to look at input devices and their uses. Um, Now, so simply, an input device is a hardware device. It enables you to or allows you to enter data into a computer. Um, this is like a simple input device, like a keyboard. You enter data before the data is processed. After the processing by the CPU, the data is sent out using an output device, which we'll be looking at later on in this presentation. Or the data can also be processed and stored and later retrieved when needed. Now, moving on, we have two main categories of input devices. That's the manual input devices and the direct input devices. When we say manual input device, we are looking at input devices where much human effort is needed to enter data, such as the mouse, the keyboard, and the others will be looking at subsequently. And then we have direct data entry devices where little human effort is needed. Things like barcode readers, scanners, and the rest. So those are direct input devices, direct data entry devices. Now, let's begin with the manual input devices before we go to the direct data entry devices. For manual input devices, the first one is the keyboard. This is the most common and basic input device. Any computer you go to, it must have a keyboard. You definitely find a keyboard. So basically, the keyboard can be also be wired or wireless. Wired meaning you connect it with a USB cable via a USB port, or you can use a USB dongle to connect it, while the keyboard can be, you use it from any direction. And then on devices like tablets, mobile phones, and some laptops, you have virtual keyboards, meaning you have a touch screen through which you can access the keyboard. In terms of advantages, what are the advantages of keyboards? Or the pros. Now, they are easy to use for most people, fast text entry into documents, easy to verify data during entry. Disadvantages, slow data entry compared to direct data entry devices, as will be seen. Then we have device takes up desk space. That's also a disadvantage, can be difficult to use. Now, the next form of manual input device is numeric keypads. So these are just a certain category of keyboards, but mostly they contain just numbers, like what you find on ATMs, POS, chip and pin devices. So that is those are numeric keypads. So you mainly find them being used for spreadsheet data entry. Maybe you have a spreadsheet where you need to enter a lot of numbers, so you find things like this. Now, what are some advantages of this category of keyboard? They are faster than keyboards for numeric data entry. Obviously, you just want to type numbers, so they will definitely be faster than using a keyboard. Now, very portable compared to standard keyboards. They are smaller in size, so very often they'll be portable. What are some disadvantages? They might be difficult to use in case of small keys. Yes, because of their small size, the keys will definitely be small. Some people might find that difficult to use. And then there's also difficulty in entering text, especially on telephones. Like if you look at the older telephone, they had keys like this, and then beneath it you just see some A, B, C, D, E, F, and those things. So to move from the number to the letter, you have to do you have to press quite a number of times, so that is difficult. Now, the next manual input device is the mouse. It's also a mouse is also very common. You just move around on a smooth surface to control your cursor, like what I'm doing now. I'm moving my mouse on a smooth surface. A mouse can also be wired or wireless. So you can have a mouse with a cable like this connected to your computer, or it doesn't have a cable at all. You just use a dongle, you plug to your computer, and you can access it with the wireless technology. Now, mouse or mice are basically used for opening, closing, minimizing software and others. So basically, that's what we use them for. Now, what are the advantages of this mouse, of a mouse? Firstly, it's a fast method for selecting, opening, or closing apps. It can take up little desk space compared to the keyboard. Disadvantages, we have difficulty to use if surface is not flat, yes. And then we have easy to get damage. Ball mouse easy to get that the dirty. So the ball mouse, for instance, those, even though it's an older style of mouse, some people still use it. They easily grab dirt from the surface, and when the dirt clogs underneath, it's difficult to use. Now, the next input device we have is the touchpad. This is like a mouse on a laptop, so that's what the touchpad does. It's the main pointing device on laptops. Moving fingers on the surface and gently tapping provides users as uses it provides users as in the mouse above. So you just move your fingers here, you can scroll, you can tap to click, or you can use these buttons to click. So basically it's a mouse, but just in a different type of design. It has the main functions, the same functions as a mouse. So what are the advantages of a touchpad? Faster than keyboard, yes. No need for separate mouse and extra desk space, because the mouse, the touchpad is built directly on your laptop, so it comes as a single unit. So there is no need for extra space. Disadvantages, they are difficult to use by people with hand or wrist problems. So if you have a hand or wrist problem, you find it difficult to use the touchpad because you need to kind of at times you curve your fingers, or those things they'll cause you risks problem. Now, they're difficult to use compared to the normal mouse. That is true. Some people really find it difficult to use the touchpad compared to the mouse. That's why you see very common. Even people with laptops who still have an external mouse they walk around with. So, yeah, that is true. Also, the next input device is the tracker ball. Actually, this is an ergonomic kind of mouse. It's same as the normal mouse, but the ball is on the top, as you can see here. It's suitable for users with wrist strain injury. So if you have, repetitive strain injury, or if you want to prevent such injuries, you can make use of this type of mouse. It is also used in industrial control to navigate process screen. So you'll find this also in industrial controls. What are some advantages of the tracker ball mouse? They are easier to use than the normal mouse. They are more robust, and they are also more accurate. They can position the cursor on a particular place more accurately. Disadvantages, they are more costly than mouse. Normally, additional functionality, it is your head and all those things. So definitely that comes at a cost. They may require training before use, so that is also a disadvantage because you might not want to be trained, or you might incur charges just to be trained to use the mouse. Now, the next manual input device is the remote control, which I believe we are all familiar with. You can use the remote control. Basically, it employs infrared technology. So, what you see here, this green thing, is there's a bulb usually in front here, which is the emitter, and then the TV or whatever device you want to control has a receiver. So, whatever button you press on this remote here, um, it activates something when the receiver picks up that signal, and maybe it's to switch off the TV like pressing the red button, or it should switch the channel and all those things. So you can use it to control televisions, DVD or CD players. You can also use it to control robots and other machineries. Now, an advantage or advantages of the remote control is easy to use. They can be operated from a considerable distance. Disadvantages, signals can easily be blocked, yes. Might be difficult to use by some persons, especially for advanced control. That's true. So it's a disadvantage. Now, the next thing is the joystick. So an manual input device. You just hold here and you can move around, just like maybe the tracker board, the other mouse. Now, they are mainly used for gaming. You can use it for flight control simulations. So that's where things like this come in. Advantages: easy screen navigation than keyboard. So that's an advantage of the joystick. A disadvantage: it's more difficult to use compared to standard mouse. So that's also a disadvantage. Now we move on to touch screens, which are also a manual input device. The touch screen you can is used to select or input options. So you use when you tap, you are sending information to your computer. So it's an input. Uh, we use touchscreen basically on ATMs, POS, mobile phones, tablets, interactive whiteboards, probably laptops, and many other areas. So you'll find touchscreens there. So they function as input devices, and later on you also find out that touchscreens function both as input and output devices. Now, what are some advantages of touchscreen? Faster entry options than using the normal keyboard or mouse. Very easy method for choosing options, and they are also very user friendly. And for disadvantages, we have the user is limited to available input options, such as on an ATM machine. You can only select the options that are available. Then the screen can get very dirty. So where the touch screen is used in public cases, public use like ATMs, they can also very get dirty. Um, Now the next manual input device we are looking at is light pens. Basically, they are used with computers as input device. So the light pen is an input device where you write on the screen. Maybe you can mostly they use it with cathode ray screen to select objects, or they can use it for drawing. You can also use it to draw on screen. So it's a light pen. It's just like a stylus, but it's just a very older style of technology. Now, what are the advantages of light pens? They have greater accuracy than touchscreens. Yes, they are very handy in cases where space is an issue. So they are very small. So instead of probably having a mouse, you prefer to have these two. Maybe if you just want to be drawing or selecting things. So they are also easy to use. Disadvantages: you can have lagging problems when drawing on screen. And then currently, light pencils of this nature are currently used just with the CRT monitors. So they are also an outdated technology, so a disadvantage. Um, the next input device, manual input device, are scanners. We use them to enter information from hard copy. So you just scan whatever document, photograph, or whatever it may be. You scan it from hard copy to text. The advantage is scans information which can be stored in different formats, yes. And then you have faster information entry. Disadvantages: we have limited quality depending on the resolution of the scanner. Yes, some when they scan the text, the hard copy to text, you find that the resolution is not really good, and then some that fairly slow in terms of especially when the resolution is higher. So it takes a lot of time to scan to make sure everything is clear. Now, the next manual input device we have is the digital camera. Basically, right now, our smartphones, laptops, and others, most of them, they come with digital camera. So we use them basically to take photographs, video recording, and others. And then you could also find this used in cars for data capture or visual aid when reversing. And the advantages of digital cameras is they produce better quality images than the traditional cameras. Yeah, they are also easier and faster to upload. So you don't want something that when you snap a picture and you take forever to send it wherever you want it to go to. Disadvantages: user often requires proper training before use of a device. Yeah, that's some sophisticated cameras, and you will definitely require to be trained before you can use it effectively. So that's a disadvantage. Loss of jobs by artists, as most software are doing. So now there are softwares that can do editing. They can even help you take very good quality pictures. So photographers are completely going out of they're losing their jobs, artists and others, because of those kind of things. um Microphones. Now, a microphone might not always look like this, but there are different versions. The idea is when you speak, you can send in speech, which is an input. You can send in speech, sound, voice recording also, and your computer picks that up. So it can be wired or wireless, meaning you connect with the USB, or some you can use a dongle to connect. They can connect to connect them. You can have microphones. We have microphones in our mobile phones. Right now, I am using a microphone to record this presentation. So, on our mobile phones, when you're making a call, it's a microphone which is picking up your voice, and maybe uh, other technologies are involved to transmit your voice to to whoever you're making the call with. So advantages, they are faster text entry than typing with keyboard. Yes, you can use speech to text, meaning you speak and your microphone picks that up and then you see text on screen. And then it aids in safety when using voice activation or security system. Yes, some people, there are security systems out there where they use mouse microphones or sound things that pick up sound or movement, and the signal is given out. Now, disadvantages, sound files can use up a lot of space. Yes, when you record with the microphone and all those things, they can take up a lot of space. And then voice recognition is not as accurate as manual typing. That's true. When you're typing with speech, your pronunciation has to really be good so that whatever you're saying is typed exactly the way it should. So that is also a problem. Now, away from manual input devices, there is one major area of input devices which is involves sensors. Basically, when we talk about sensors, they are input devices because they measure sensors measure or continuously changing physical quantity. So they measure things like temperature, pressure, humidity, moisture, which is the same thing. pH. They can measure maybe the oxygen content in water and all those things. So that is where sensors come in. If you go to an automated system, you'll find that you have sensors maybe to constantly check the temperature and send that information to a computer. But now there is one thing we need to take note of. Most sensors are analog in nature because they need to measure analog data. So when this analog data is captured, it must be converted to digital data because the computer only understands digital data. As we saw in chapter 1, there was emphasis on this. Whenever you have analog data, you must convert it to a digital form using an analog to digital converter so that the computer can understand whatever you're talking about. So analog is continuously changing data, while digital is just discrete, like it could be high or low, high or low. So ones or zeros. That's what the computer understands. And with the help of an analog digital converter, sense the measurement from sensors can be converted to digital format for the computer to understand and take appropriate action. Now, these are different categories of sensors, and these are the applications. Then we also have there some advantages and general disadvantages of this sensor. The first one is the temperature sensor. We can use it for temperature monitoring in automatic washing machines, central heating system, automated glass houses, ovens, and many other areas. We have the pressure sensor used to detect pressure changes in intruder alarm system, robotics, environmental monitoring. We have the light sensor. You could use it to detect light in automatic glass houses, automatic doors, intruder alarm system, street light control. Yes. Sound, use it to intruder alarm system, monitoring, liquid powder flow in pipes, and many others. Humidity or moisture sensor, we could use it in automatic glass houses. Environmental monitoring in factories where moisture levels are crucial. For example, manufacturing of microchips, paint spraying. So those are places where you need to keep moisture levels at a certain level, at a certain required level. Now we have the pH sensor used to measure pH levels in chemical processes, environmental monitoring, automatic glass houses, and many others. And now for advantages of these sensors, we have their more accurate reading compared to human readings. Yes, you cannot ask a human to measure the temperature of something every 2 seconds throughout the day. That won't happen, it won't be effective. But sensors can do that perfectly well. They are more reliable, especially as reading needs to be taken continuously. Yes, as I just explained, if you want a temperature to be taken every second or maybe every few seconds, a sensor is the ideal device to use, input device to use. A human being cannot do that effectively. Then it's also more suitable for hazardous systems. So they require little human intervention. Yeah, if you look at all these spacecrafts or that sent out into space, you find out that they send back images. You even get to know the temperature in, like we know the temperature in Mars, how they are moisture content and all those things. It's with the help of things like this, the help of sensors. So sensors are very, very, very important. And you go to some places in really advanced countries and the rest, you find that light sensors maybe that are used to control automatic street lights along the road. I mean, even in almost everywhere this is done. I mean, when it's getting dark, lights just come on. When it's early in the morning, lights automatically go off. So that is where this is how sensors can be used in our daily lives. Disadvantages: the faulty sensors can give poor readings. That's true. Most sensors are analog and often use an ADC, which is additional cost. Yes, as we explained. So this picture here simply, this is a plant, and this is a moisture sensor. This is a microcontroller board, an Arduino. Yeah, this is an Arduino board. So what is happening here is this moisture sensor, maybe you program this board to make sure that maybe the moisture level here is at a set, always at a particular point. Once that moisture level is below, the sensor will send that, oh, the moisture level is below, meaning the soil has become dry. So you probably have to come and water it. So this is what some people employ in their farms on a large scale to, they don't need to be checking that is this plant dry and all those things. So this is what some people employ. And you can even go further to automate the whole system so that you don't need to come and water it. It waters itself on its own. So, I mean, there are systems existing like that, and worked on a number of them. So, away from sensors, let's look at a past exam question on this in this area. So they say a river authority is concerned about levels of population pollution in a major river. The quality of the water in the river needs to be monitored using sensors. Now, there's a name three sensors that could be used to measure the pollution in the river. Yeah, you could use an oxygen sensor. That one maybe will measure the oxygen levels in the river. And you could use a light sensor. The light sensor will maybe check out how much light can pass through the water. So that can also tell you how polluted the water is. pH standard, there are standards for the pH of water, which maybe is good for drinking and others. And then turbidity, simply it measures how clear the water is. So clarity, you can also, this is another type of sensor you can use. So any of these three will give you your marks. So that is it about sensors. Now, the next objective we have is our next objective is to understand characteristics of direct data entry devices. This is also another broad category of input devices. So with this one, little human effort is needed to enter data. Now, the first direct data entry device we'll look at is the magnetic stripe reader. Simply, it reads data from magnetic stripe found on the back of debit card. So this is a debit card. This black thing here is a magnetic stripe. So what you do is you just swipe the card and it reads off that information. So what is embedded, the information stored on this magnetic stripe could be your account details, login details, and maybe to your account and others. And then it is commonly you find these magnetic stripe readers in electronic fund transfer yeah, at point of sale terminals. You can also find it in security buildings and the rest. There are some buildings or hotel rooms you just swipe a card to get access to your room. And for advantages, the magnetic stripe reader has fast data entry compared to using keyboard or keypad. Error free, no typing, you don't need to type. Secure form of data entry. It's also a very robust device. Disadvantages: it can damage on magnetic stripe, can damage on the magnetic stripe, this black area here. Yeah, it could lead to data loss. Needs close contact to work, so you need to swipe it. It's not something that you can use wirelessly. Strong magnetic fields can lead to data corruption and loss. That is true. Now, the next direct data entry device we want to look at is the contactless debit card readers. So this is one. The contactless debit card readers reads data of a chip that emits radio waves. This chip is found on what? The debit card. So there's a chip here, if you see. Whenever you see this sign, it means radio. like it's a wireless kind of technology. So once you maybe you do a purchase from a shop or online, no, from a shop, it has to be physical. What you just do is you maybe the key in the amount, you put your card over it, and then it picks up the signal, and that amount is deducted from your card. Advantages: fast transactions within seconds, data is protected. So with 128-bit encryption, and then we have error-free. You don't need to type. So most of what you do is just to scan, and the required amount is paid. Disadvantages: it's more expensive than standard credit debit card. Yeah, this kind of system is more expensive. Then you have limited transaction amount you can do, and it might also be easy to hack because of the radio waves. Some people can easily hack into that because of the wireless technology. Now, an exam question on that: we have contactless debit cards are replacing standard debit cards. Some countries are introducing contactless debit card transaction at ATM machines. Give three disadvantages to the customer of using these cards and an ATM. Now, the card may be read accidentally. That's true. That's a disadvantage. It's a contactless debit card. You don't need to get so meaning wireless. So people can easily hack into Wi-Fi networks if they are not well encrypted. Only small amounts can be withdrawn. Yes, that's also the issue. They don't allow it for large amounts to withdraw. It's also a security measure to ensure that even if they hack into your card, they shouldn't, you know. Then we have more chance of fraud if card is stolen. Yes, people can steal your card and do transactions even from a distance. Devices can read the card wireless to steal money. Yes, that's also a disadvantage. Now, the next direct data entry device we want to look at is the chip and pin reader. The chip and pin reader is also a direct data entry device. So simply, you have your card. The chip and pin reader has a card slot here. This is your card. You slot your card into it, and then it has a screen which displays whatever you're doing. When you slot your card, maybe you enter your pin. If the pin corresponds to the data stored on the card, it takes that in. If you have to pay for something, maybe you enter the amount, and then you press enter, and that particular amount is deducted. So you mostly find this in places like restaurants, supermarkets, some travel agencies use it, in many other areas. So what are some advantages of chip and pin readers? They are more secure than a contactless card system. They are also more robust system than magnetic stripe readers. True. Disadvantages: pin can easily be stolen when typing it. Yes, somebody can watch your pin when you're typing it. So it's always nice to, kind of hide your pin. Pin can easily be forgotten. That's true. Some people tend to forget things easily. So that's also a disadvantage. Now, the next direct data entry device we have is the radio frequency identification. Readers are the RFID. So basically, they use radio waves to read and capture data stored on a tag. They contain microchips, which can also store data. They can also store, they can process information, and they also have an antenna, which they use to capture and to receive and transmit data. Mostly, you will find RFID readers being used for. They are mostly used to track livestock by farmers, and then you also find them used in retail shops or libraries to track things like um, things in the shop, different items in the shop or books in the library. Um, RFID readers, basically, the advantage is they can read data from tags several meters away. Yes, fast data reception and processing, reliable and robust. They can also allow bidirectional data transfer, meaning you can transmit and receive. Disadvantages: they are more expensive than barcodes. They are prone to collision, or there is possibility of interference between tags. Yeah, because of the wireless. If there's too much congestion of the same type of cards or signals in a certain area, there's bound to be interference. So it's also relatively easy to jam this kind of signals, and also lastly, they can also easily be hacked. So those are disadvantages of this technology. Now, a simple past question. That's for a question from just last year. So they say a library is considering the way it issues books. The librarians are planning to use RFID rather than barcode to describe the advantage of using RFID rather than barcode. So it's kind of a comparative answer you have to give here. Four correct good points from here will give you all your marks. So you can always read over this. I don't need to go over that. So just for let me talk about 2 or 3 points. RFIDs are faster to read than barcodes. That's true. You can even read it from a distance. RFID scanning is more accurate than barcodes. That's also true. RFID does not need line or sight to read, but barcodes does. As I just said, you can read from a distance. That's an advantage. Now, another type of direct data entry device we have is the optical mark recognition, or it could be an optical mark reader. So what the optical mark reader does is it reads marks written in pen or pencil on special places or position on paper. So the device is designed such that it can recognize these marks once you pass the paper through it. So we mostly use these OMRs to read questionnaires for MCQ marking and maybe voting for voting purposes. Now, what are some advantages of OMRs? They are very fast way of inputting results into a computer. Yes, so you just pass your paper through here. Once the paper passes through, what happens is once the paper passes through, what happens is it marks the whole paper if you're marking a paper, and immediately the results are also recorded. It's more accurate than manual type key in data. That is true. Forms must, for disadvantages, forms must be carefully designed and positions accurately placed for marks to be made for easy recognition. Yes, so this is a disadvantage. If the forms are not carefully designed, and also if you make marks on different place, you might they might not record that as a mark, so you can lose marks from just maybe putting them in a wrong position. Marks can be difficult to read if not done with good ink or pencil. Yes, usually this kind of if it's a form or it's an example paper answer sheet, they usually use a specific kind of pencil which is very readable. It's easy to read by the device, so that's also a disadvantage. Now, we can also compare the optical mark reader. No, oh, I think I skipped the slide. So now the next after the optical mark reader, the next thing we have is the optical character recognition. So the other one recognizes marks, this one recognizes characters. So this one can convert text on hard copy documents into electronic form. So if you look here, this is, I mean, a certain version type of an OCR. So it's scanning this text and sending it to computer. And then some can find them on mobile apps. You just scan the hard copy and then it converts it to text. Then special OCR software further converts this electronic data to a format compatible for other applications. It's used in airports for processing of passports. Yes, in airports you find things like this. They can scan your passport, capture your data, and use it and keep it for whatever security purposes. So you can also use to convert documents to electronic form. Now, what are some advantages of, oh, I think there's a mistake here. Advantages of OCR, fast data entry system than manual methods, less error, no manual typing. So you don't need to type, you just scan. Disadvantages of OCRs, difficulty in reading some handwritings or data, still not very accurate as needed. So these devices still need to be upgraded. Now we can compare the OMR and the OCR. No one reads marks, the other one reads characters. So let's compare them. The OCR is more accurate data reading method than OCR. The OMR is more accurate compared to the OCR. Then we can also see that the OCR is more accurate than manual typing, but issues of recognizing all handwriting still exist. Yeah, so the OCR, it does character to text, so it still has some issues recognizing or handwritings. Then the OMR is easier and faster to complete forms, yes. The OCR less easier to complete forms compared to the OMR. Simply detects marks on page and compares position with stored template. Yes, that's correct. Why for the OCR, it detects written characters. Reading can be difficult if writing is not very clear. Yes, so that is also something. Now the OMR is good for use in marking multiple choice examination papers. Why the OCR is good for converting document to an editable electronic form. So basically, these are just some points you can use to compare these two devices if you are asked to. Now, another very important type of direct data entry device is barcode readers or scanners. You find this almost everywhere. So the scanner is used to scan and read information from barcode on various categories of products. This is the scanner, the black thing, the being held here. While these lines you see on the package are the barcode. So this is a scanner and this is the code. So this barcode scanner can read off information from that barcode. So you'll find them in supermarkets for product identification, tracking, and billing. You also find them used to track books in libraries. Now, what are the advantages of barcode systems? They are faster than manually key in data, they are a reliable technology, and they allow automatic stock control. Disadvantages, we have relative expensive system. Yeah, it is quite expensive, so some people find that as a disadvantage. Systems can be tricked if barcodes are swapped on products. That's true. If some products, the barcodes are kind of pasted, so it's possible for you to, remove this and paste it on another document. Somebody can do that to, I mean, people have done that to trick the system. Barcodes can be easily damaged compared to RFID tags or magnetic stripes. So that is also a disadvantage. Now, the other category of or the other type of direct data entry device, the quick response. This one has become very, very common nowadays. Yeah, this one is very, very common now. And so quick response code scanners or readers, you have a matrix like this. So this is some form of matrix of filled in dark squares on a light background. So the black areas actually is if you look at it, you see that you have black and dark areas which all carry information that can be used to get access to. All of these dark and white areas carry certain information you can use to get access to applications, websites, products, and whatnot. Now, these QR codes can the QR code can be used to can hold up to 4,296 characters compared to 30 digits in barcode. So that is a big advantage over the barcode. Now, we can use this QR code for product advertisement, access to system, website access, and in many other areas. Now, what are the main advantages of QR codes? Faster and easier to read compared to barcodes. Yes, QR codes can be encrypted, giving them better protection than barcodes. Yes, they can hold much more information compared to normal barcodes, as I just said here. Also, with disadvantages, the multiple QR formats exist. So the existence of multiple formats makes it quite disadvantageous, meaning it's kind of easy to manipulate and other aspects come in, or it's difficult to fully grasp all this technology. The ease of accessing different apps to generate QR codes means QR can easily be used to transmit malicious code. Yes, some which is termed a tagging. So some people actually use these codes to QR codes to transmit malicious code. So that was it about input devices. So we've looked at manual input devices, and we have where much human effort is needed to enter data into a computer. And then we've also looked at direct data entry devices where little or no human effort is needed to enter data into the computer. So this is the last part of input devices. The next thing we'll be looking at will be output devices and their uses. So stay tuned, and I'll be uploading a video on that very soon. Thank you.